A magnitude 4.2 earthquake struck Quebec days after a 3.7 magnitude earthquake struck near upstate New York on May 6th. And today's earthquake, May 9th, struck just northwest of Montreal. It was as you can see, a very unpopulated area. And it was reported by, however, 6 people reported feeling it according to the USGS. USGS has it as a 3.9, but the Canadian Geological Survey has it as a 4.2. Now we have it, 7 people reported feeling it. This is just northwest of Ottawa, north of Ottawa, just north of Ottawa and Montreal. Now, we've had an increase of activity in that area lately. And tectonic summary of this: people in the larger western Quebec seismic zone have felt small earthquakes and suffered damage from larger ones for 3 centuries. The 2 largest damaging earthquakes occurred in 1935 of magnitude 6.1 at the northwestern end of the seismic zone, and in 1732, a 6.2 about 280 miles away at the southeastern end of the zone. That's when it caused significant damage in Montreal. Earthquakes cause damage in the zone about once every 10 years, and smaller earthquakes are felt 3 or 4 times every year. Well, recently we've been having a tremendous amount of felt earthquakes around the Montreal area. Upstate New York, we've also had around Boston, Pittsburgh, Rhode Island, which is just north of Long Island. So we've had a tremendous amount of activity in the East Coast, and as we know, it's basically pointing in northwest from the East Coast seamount of 30 volcanoes off the East Coast. Now, earthquakes east of the Rocky Mountains, although less frequent than the west, are typically felt over a much broader region. East of the Rockies, an earthquake can be felt over an area as much as 10 times larger than a similar magnitude earthquake on the west coast. A magnitude 4 eastern earthquake, this is what we had today, can be felt at many places as far as 60 miles from where it occurred, and it infrequently causes damage near its source. A magnitude 5.5 eastern earthquake usually can be felt 300 miles away from where it occurred, and sometimes causes damage as far away as 25 miles. Now, the faults. Earthquakes everywhere occur on faults within the bedrock, usually miles deep. Most of the bedrock in the western Quebec seismic zone was formed as several generations of mountains rose and were eroded down again over the last billion or so years. As well-studied plate boundaries like the San Andreas Fault system in California, often scientists can determine the name of the specific fault that's responsible for an earthquake. In contrast, east of the Rocky Mountains, this is rarely the case. In western Quebec, seismic zone is far from the nearest plate boundaries, which are in the center of the Atlantic Ocean and in the Caribbean Sea. The seismic zone is laced with known faults, but numerous smaller or deeper buried faults remain undetected. Even the known faults are poorly located at earthquake depths, and according few, if any, earthquakes in the seismic zone can be linked to named faults. It's difficult to determine if a known fault is still active and could slip and cause an earthquake. As in most other areas of the Rockies, the best guide to earthquake hazards in the western Quebec seismic zone is the earthquakes themselves. And this is the areas you can see right there. This is totally uninhabited, as is most of the area north of the cities of Quebec, of Canada. I used to live in Montreal, and I found out recently that there's a lot of volcanoes, cinder cone volcanoes, that's the area right there. That's around the north, okay, that's around the St. Lawrence River. And that, you see, that's Long Island, that's Rhode Island. And that's where the latest earthquake 3.7 was on May 6th. And today's earthquake, that's the one that was 3.0, a little bit earlier in April. And, okay, again, we go again. So we see that it's in the general direction, though, of where the seamount is. That's today's quake. Okay. Today's quake 4.2. Okay. 4.2. And it's basically in the direction of the seamounts. That's the Great Lakes. Those are the seamounts. 30 volcanoes, submarine volcanoes. And you can see that they're coming. That's the mid-Atlantic trench. That's where the end of the North American tectonic plate is. And that's the seamount pointing towards that area. That's where we're having our activity. Of course, there's magma underneath those volcanoes of the seamount. Okay, that's it. So all of you there, please be very careful because we do have an uptick in activity in the eastern coast. Okay, here we are at Sizewell Berkeley, and this is our map of the area. Okay, let's go a little bit further out. Montreal, Ottawa. Let's go to our tectonics. There are no tectonics, obviously. I don't know anything there, but we do have the seamount. Okay, that's the end of the North American plate, the European plate, and the African plate. Those are the Azores right there, and that's the seamount right here. You can't really see it, but let's go to the aerial. Okay, that's the seamount right there. Those are the Azores. That's the seamount. 30 volcanoes, and of course they have magma under them, and this is where they're pointing to. That's the activity. Of course, they don't have all the earthquakes plotted here, but you can see the general direction. Maine has 5 volcanoes. 4 of them are in a 100-mile area, and we have previously read that this area here had one of the super eruptions of a supervolcano about a billion years ago. And this is an area full of calderas that is Yellowstone-like caldera area. Of course, it's dormant, sleeping, but, and also let's keep in mind that this thing here is, the Keweenaw Fault is a mantle plume. That's a horseshoe-shaped mantle plume that has magma underneath. And that's the mid-continental rift. One arm goes to the west this way, going all the way down through Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Texas, and then swings south to New Mexico. And the eastern part goes and flanks the New Madrid seismic zone. So that's like a horseshoe-shaped magma, mantle plume. It has magma underneath, but the geologists don't know where that magma is coming from. Of course, that magma has been there for the past billion years. It's one of the oldest magma areas of the world, right there, over the Great Lakes. Okay, so I'll leave links below for you for this on USGS and Sizewell Berkeley, and the Canadian, also the Canadian earthquake map for your reference. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.